Welcome to this edition of Backstage Pass with Leah Chang. Today I'm at New York City Center for the Encores production of The Light in the Piazza, starring Ruthie Miles and directed by Chay Yew. Chay Yew is at the helm of New York City Center's stage concert production of Adam Guettel and Craig Lucas's The Light in the Piazza, starring Tony-winning actress Ruthie Miles, who recently received her second Tony nomination for her role as the beggar woman in the current Broadway revival of Sweeney Todd. Miles plays a Korean-American mother on vacation in 1950s Florence with her daughter, played by Anna Zavelson, confronting painful memories and life-changing opportunities alike. On this edition of Backstage Pass with Leah Chang, we're headed into the Encore's rehearsal room at New York City Center for a sneak peek at 2 numbers from the show. I also got to catch up with my frequent collaborator Chay Yew, Ruthie Miles, Andrea Burns, and Encore's producing creative director Clint Ramos, who is also one of the scenic designers for the presentation.
They were throwing it about, and at some point I said, by the way, have you ever done Light in the Piazza? And they said no, and are the rights available? And they said yes, it is, and we just went straight forward into it. And the reason why I chose that is because I actually didn't expect that musical to not have been on the encore season, because it's a beautiful musical. It's always been very profound for me. And also, when I first saw it about 20 odd years ago, it still has a lingering power over me in terms of what love is, one of the big themes, and also what the mother's strength is and what the mother's devotion could be. So all these themes, written beautifully by Craig Lucas and Adam Guettel, has made it one of my favorite musicals ever.
And how did you come with the casting for Ruthie Miles?
I think it was suggested, actually, to be
oh.
fair, because Clint says, I know Ruthie and she may be the right person for this. And I said, great, if she says yes, it'll be great. And Ruthie basically, and I had a call, and I said, if you're going to be doing this, we're going to center Margaret and Claire as Asian Americans in this musical without changing a word of it. And what has been great is we've been both exploring the complexity of adding more of the outsider status for Margaret, who's already an outsider as an American in Italy, doubly more so as an Asian American woman in the 1950s in Italy. So that was how the casting came about and how ultimately the aesthetic for the whole show becomes.
Okay. And how have rehearsals been?
It's been great. I have to say, it's a very short process. It's bewildering.
Shorter than any of your Cambodian rock band life?
Yes. I mean, it's like 10 days of rehearsals. There's a lot of work. But what is really wonderful is every time you hear the music, and even doing the scenes, it has been emotionally devastating for me because it's hard, it's beautiful, and it probably rings very true to all of us when we're singing it. And because the music is so beautiful, when you hear it, you can't help but be emotional. So it's been truly a joy.
What does it mean to you to be an Asian American theater maker in this time?
I would say just as important as I first started out, given the recent rise in anti-Asian violence, it's clear that our stories have not been much of the mainstream, and we're completely and still being perceived as perpetual foreigners. Hopefully our stories are even more important now to show that we are visible, we have a voice, and we're part of the American fabric, and we need people to know we exist. And sometimes by humanizing us, our stories, the American public begins to understand that we're not foreigners but part of this country. So we have a lot more work to do, and great work. And I'm very heartened because a new generation of Asian American artists that I've been watching, nurturing, they are bigger than before, more talented, and I think better than I am. So I can't help but be excited what the future could be for Asian American theater.
And what do you hope audiences will take away from this production?
Ultimately, aside from the fact that Asian Americans and people of color can do high class, first caliber work on Broadway stages, but also the fact that love, the, the theme of this musical, is completely profound and truthful in so many ways. And by bringing a cast of people of color together to tell this story is particularly more exciting and unique.
Where is that? In the tower. All morning. Kind of waiting for the fire.
What is different about this particular show for you?
Well, for me, it's one of the few shows that as an adult professional I became a fan of. So I saw this first time around. I loved it. I listened to the cast album. So it's an incredible feeling to be inside of something that I have admired from the outside for so long. That's what's very special to me about it. And to be here working with Chay on a new production.
What is it about the Light in the Piazza that speaks to you the most?
Love. The power of love. Love overall. Love and the beauty of life. The highs and the lows. That no matter what, it's worth it to be alive.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're the best. Such a privilege.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
Welcome
Thank
home.
you.
Congratulations on your second
Thank
Tony
you.
nomination.
Thank you very much.
What has it felt like for you to come home to such a bounty from Sweeney Todd, your Tony nomination, to the Light in the Piazza at New York City Center?
We were in California for a few years, and truth be told, I was scared to come back to New York because I was like, these are the people who know me. These are the people who don't let me get away with it. These are the people who don't let me forget the good or the they don't let me forget things that draw my heart close, real into a story, and that's been a very scary place to touch for many years. And something that was so special about Clint asking if I wanted to do this with Chay, and of course my answer was yes. I don't even care in what capacity. If you want me to be, a second director then yes, my answer is yes. I want to do this with Chay, and I want to do this at City Center, and I want to do this material, this character. And I think I might have said yes before I fully understood the emotional range of what this character goes through, even though I know it. It was only when I started to, after I said yes and after it was announced, that I really started to emotionally invest into this character, not just learning the music, not just learning the lines. And that's when I thought, oh, right, I forgot why it's so hard to be in New York, and I forgot what it's like to tell emotional stories in this way. And of course with Sweeney Todd, it was the same thing. Just exploring that material and that woman's grief and and her challenges and her neurodiversity, and that became, more personal and more emotional than perhaps I had anticipated when I had first said yes. And so, as hard as it has been to come back home, as hard as it has been to dive back into this schedule, this grueling schedule, and the Broadway, madness, it's been so rewarding, and it's felt very normal and natural. And it
Has the Light in the Piazza been a show that you've wanted to do for a while?
Yes, yes.
Because when I was talking to Andrea, she said it's one of the few things that has really spoken to her.
It is one of the few things that has been on my I need to do this sometime in my life list. It only surprised me that it happened when I was 40 instead of, more than 40. And so one thing that has, not only because Clara is the age that she is at, but I'm trying to realistically see, what age I would have been at. But also, I have to take into consideration how I read on stage, which is, older than I am, which is fine. That's a gift in itself. And so, yes, it has absolutely been, top 3 shows that I have to do in my lifetime. I was just surprised that it was now.
Now, Chay mentioned how without changing a lyric or a word, but centering it on a Korean American family, a Korean American mother and daughter, what kind of themes are being addressed, or where you're pulling from as you make your way through this space, knowing the show as it was originally written?
Yeah, it's been fascinating because you would expect, and Chay and I talked about this for months. We've been talking about this for months. Does she have an accent? Do we have to bring that in to let the audience know that she's a foreigner, even in her own country, in America? So we have this discussion that she came here for school and she fell in love and they had a baby and they then moved to North Carolina, where she is very much the other person, based on how she looks. And she has tried so hard to assimilate and, remove her accent and speak with very crisp, I am just like you, but always being the other person. And then she has a daughter who has a handicap.
Right.
And always being the other in that way. And, as much as she tries to assimilate herself in, never quite being able to. And then she comes to this country and meets this family where they are fully accepted for who they are, just as they are, despite looking the way that we do. And it's so close after the wars. You have to remember this. Not only the stereotyping and the discrimination, the racism against Japanese people, against Chinese people specifically. Most people can't tell by looking at an Asian face. What kind of Asian are you? So to not feel that otherness from the Nacarelli family is already jarring. All right, then what do you want from me? Is it money? Is that what you want?
Right.
And so we start to explore these themes. What's been really interesting for me, fascinating for me, is how I started this, is that I'm most, as Ruthie, who has been through my last 5 years, of course, I resonate with Margaret. Ruthie, who is the age that I am, resonates with Margaret. But when it comes to this show, all of my stories are actually for Anna. It's around Clara. I'm sorry, for Anna. It's Clara's stories that I start to tell. And it's talking about Clara, teaching Anna, telling Anna my history, that I start to be able to put myself into my mom's shoes. And so then I'm learning about Margaret by talking about myself, teaching her something, and then understanding maybe where my mom was coming from. I have a lot of people who have this story, who have Margaret's story. And it's been healing in a way. It's been challenging. It's been interesting to crack open their stories and see how I fit in and what I can pull from them, and how that then is infused into Margaret Johnson as I know her.
What do you hope that audiences will take away from seeing this new Light in the Piazza?
Oh my. One thing that Asian Americans in theater have been saying for decades, it feels like forever, has been, we just want to be like you. We just want to tell the story like everyone else can. We don't want to be the comic relief. We don't want to be the tiger mom. We don't want to be the weird this or the next door that, or put on an accent. And, we just want to be. We just want to be. And this has been case in point. You don't have to change a single word of the show to tell a very specific story from a different point of view, or not.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that story. We're just making it, this way. But I think what they might take away is that almost any story, can be told by almost anyone. Because
So-
why? Because we're humans and we're all part of this human tapestry.
What does it mean for you to be an Asian American theater maker in this time?
You know, that's a hard question to answer. Ask me in 20 years, because I think when I look back, I'm going to see that the waves have been carrying us all in a direction, perhaps that we don't see right now, but I think the only thing that I can do is continue speaking up and continue living in the moment, doing my hardest to live in the moment, and try to find markers that are going to help me remember, oh, I remember that year. I remember when we did Light in the Piazza. I remember what that story meant to me then. And then we're going to look back and go, oh, that's a direct connection to that, and how that might have changed that future, and how that might have changed history in that way.
Right. Well, what was it like? Where were you when you found out you had your second Tony nomination, and what did it feel like?
You know, no one's asked me this. I was just about to change my daughter's diaper. She had a stinky in the morning, and I was carrying her to the changing table, and I had a diaper in hand, ready to do it. And then I saw a phone call from a friend too early in the morning for this phone call to happen, and I thought something's either really wrong or really right. And so I was like, hold on, honey. And so I put her on the changing table, I put the diaper down, I picked up this phone call, and my friend Joseph Morales told me that I had been nominated for my second Tony. Yeah, very sweet.
Thank you.
Very sweet.
These are very popular in Italy. It's the land of naked marble boys. Something we don't see a lot in Bristol City. That's the land of purple I'm just someone in old sea. This is taking chances. This is almost touching. The beauty is, I don't understand a word you're saying. I'm as different here as different can be. But the beauty is, I still need people like me. Everyone's a mother here in Italy. Everyone's a father or a son. I think if I had a child, I would take such care of her, and I wouldn't feel like one. I've hardly met a single soul, but I am not wrong. I feel proud. This is wanting something. This is praying for it. This is holding hands and keeping fingers crossed. This is counting blessings. This is wondering when I'll see that boy again. I've got a feeling he's just a someone too. And the beauty is when you realize, someone could be looking
Thank you for joining me for this edition of Backstage Pass with Leah Chang. Until next time,